More than 8 out of 10 adults over the age of 60 still eat cheese several times a week. For many, it's a daily habit that feels comforting, familiar, and harmless. Cheese shows up on breakfast toast, melts over vegetables at dinner, and sneaks into snacks without much thought. It looks innocent sitting behind glass at the supermarket, wrapped in neat packages with words like natural, classic, or made with real milk. But beneath that familiar surface, cheese can either quietly support long-term health or slowly work against it, depending entirely on which kinds you choose. What most people don't realize is that age changes the way the body responds to food. Digestion slows. Protein absorption becomes less efficient. Calcium metabolism shifts. Blood vessels become more vulnerable to inflammation and calcification. These changes mean that foods that were once neutral can become either helpful allies or hidden stressors. Cheese is one of the clearest examples of this divide. Many older adults unknowingly fill their carts with cheeses that are heavily processed, stripped of nutrients, and loaded with compounds that strain the heart, kidneys, and blood vessels. At the same time, they often pass right by traditional, aged cheeses that contain nutrients uniquely suited to aging bodies. The difference between the two isn't subtle. Over decades, it can influence bone strength, cardiovascular health, inflammation levels, and even cognitive resilience. One of the most misunderstood cheeses is aged Gouda. Fresh Gouda is pleasant, mild, and soft, but when this cheese is allowed to age for 18 months or longer, it undergoes a remarkable transformation. Time changes its structure at a microscopic level. Large milk proteins are slowly broken down into smaller peptides, making them far easier for older digestive systems to handle. This matters more than most people think, because many seniors struggle with bloating, discomfort, or poor protein absorption without realizing the cause. Even more important is what aging does to Gouda's vitamin profile. Long-aged Gouda becomes one of the richest food sources of vitamin K2, a nutrient that rarely appears in modern diets. Vitamin K2 plays a crucial role in directing calcium to where it belongs. Instead of allowing calcium to settle into artery walls, where it contributes to stiffness and plaque, K2 helps guide it into bones and teeth. This function becomes increasingly important with age, when calcium supplementation alone may do more harm than good if it isn't properly utilized. Populations with higher K2 intake have consistently shown better bone density and lower rates of arterial calcification. Just a small serving of aged Gouda can provide more K2 than most people consume in an entire week. For older adults concerned about both fractures and heart health, this combination is rare and valuable. Another standout cheese is authentic Parmigiano Reggiano, the real version produced in specific regions of Italy using traditional methods. This is not the powdered product found in shaker bottles, which often contains fillers and anti-caking agents. True Parmigiano Reggiano is aged for at least 2 years and often longer, which fundamentally changes how the body processes it. During this extended aging, proteins are broken down so thoroughly that the cheese is almost pre-digested. Many people who struggle with other dairy products find they tolerate real Parmesan surprisingly well. The amino acids are readily absorbed, providing high-quality protein that supports muscle maintenance, immune function, and tissue repair, all of which become more critical with age. Its mineral profile is equally impressive. Parmigiano Reggiano is exceptionally rich in calcium, but what sets it apart is how that calcium is packaged. It comes naturally balanced with phosphorus and magnesium, which enhances absorption. Research has shown that calcium from whole foods like aged cheese is far more bioavailable than calcium from supplements, which often pass through the body unused. For seniors concerned about osteoporosis, this distinction matters. Traditional cheddar made from raw milk, when sourced carefully, also deserves attention. Raw milk cheddar aged for at least 60 days undergoes natural safety processes that eliminate harmful bacteria while preserving beneficial enzymes. These enzymes are destroyed during pasteurization, yet they play a key role in helping the body digest fats and proteins efficiently. When cheddar is made from the milk of grass-fed cows, its nutritional profile improves even further. It contains higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids and conjugated linoleic acid, compounds associated with reduced inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the driving forces behind many age-related conditions, including heart disease, arthritis, and cognitive decline. Foods that naturally counter this process can be valuable additions to an older adult's diet. Raw, grass-fed cheddar is also rich in fat-soluble vitamins, particularly vitamin A in its active form. This supports vision, immune defenses, and skin integrity. These nutrients are far more effectively absorbed when they come from whole foods rather than synthetic supplements. Among traditional cheeses, authentic Swiss Gruyere stands out for its unique fermentation process. Made from raw milk and aged with specific bacterial cultures, Gruyere develops compounds that extend beyond basic nutrition. The bacteria involved in its fermentation produce propionic acid, a substance studied for its potential role in reducing cholesterol synthesis and supporting metabolic health. These same bacteria are responsible for the characteristic holes found in Swiss-style cheeses and also produce vitamin B12, a nutrient that becomes harder to absorb with age. B12 deficiency is common in older adults and can contribute to fatigue, memory problems, and nerve damage. Having a dietary source that is both bioavailable and enjoyable makes adherence far easier. Gruyere also provides building blocks for glutathione, one of the body's most important antioxidants. Glutathione plays a central role in detoxification and cellular protection, yet levels naturally decline with age. Supporting the body's ability to produce it may help counter oxidative stress over time. While these traditional cheeses can support health, the opposite is true for many modern cheese products. Individually wrapped cheese slices are one of the most misleading items in the dairy aisle. Although they resemble cheese, many contain less than half actual cheese. The remainder is made up of emulsifiers, artificial colors, preservatives, and phosphate-based sodium compounds. This form of sodium behaves differently in the body than naturally occurring salt. Excess phosphate intake has been associated with vascular stiffness, kidney strain, and accelerated aging of tissues. For older adults whose kidneys already work less efficiently, this added burden can quietly contribute to long-term damage. 2 slices can contain a significant portion of the recommended daily sodium limit, without providing meaningful nutrition. Shelf-stable cheese spreads raise even more concerns. Products that can sit unrefrigerated for months rely on heavy processing to maintain texture and prevent spoilage. This process destroys beneficial enzymes and eliminates any naturally occurring probiotics. In their place are modified starches, industrial oils, and stabilizers that offer no health benefits. Many of these spreads contain oils that have been chemically altered to improve shelf life. These fats are strongly associated with cardiovascular risk, and their cumulative effect can be significant when consumed regularly. The sodium content is often extreme, far exceeding what most people realize because serving sizes are unrealistically small. Pre-shredded cheese may seem like a harmless convenience, but it introduces its own set of problems. To prevent clumping, manufacturers coat shredded cheese with anti-caking agents such as cellulose or starch. While not toxic, these substances dilute the cheese itself and interfere with melting and digestion. In sensitive individuals, they can contribute to bloating and gastrointestinal discomfort. More importantly, these coatings can reduce nutrient absorption by forming a barrier around the cheese particles. This means you may be eating cheese but receiving fewer of its benefits. Shredding cheese at home avoids this issue entirely and restores control over what you're consuming. Blue cheese occupies a more complicated space. Its bold flavor comes from intentional mold cultures, most commonly Penicillium roqueforti. While many people tolerate blue cheese without issue, it contains very high levels of tyramine, a naturally occurring compound that can raise blood pressure and trigger migraines in susceptible individuals. For those taking certain medications, particularly MAO inhibitors used for depression or Parkinson's disease, Tyramine-rich foods can be dangerous. Even outside of medication interactions, frequent intake may contribute to headaches or cardiovascular strain in sensitive adults. Blue cheese also contains trace mycotoxins produced by mold, which can accumulate with regular consumption. Occasional exposure is unlikely to cause harm for most healthy individuals, but as a regular staple, blue cheese carries risks that other aged cheeses do not. Moderation and awareness are key. Ultimately, cheese is neither hero nor villain on its own. Its impact depends on how it's made, how it's processed, and how often it's eaten. For adults over 60, these distinctions matter more than ever. Choosing traditional aged cheeses made with time-honored methods can provide protein, minerals, and fat-soluble vitamins informs the aging body can actually use. Choosing heavily processed cheese products, on the other hand, often adds sodium, additives, and inflammatory compounds without meaningful nutrition. Small changes at the grocery store can ripple outward over years. Swapping processed slices for aged Gouda or cheese spreads for real Parmesan doesn't require deprivation. It simply requires awareness. Food should work with the body, not quietly undermine it. This information is provided for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Nutritional needs vary widely, especially for older adults with existing health conditions or those taking medications. Before making significant dietary changes, consult with a qualified healthcare professional who can provide guidance tailored to your individual health history.